Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us right now on iTunes, please go and leave a 5-star review. For example, this great review from Heteros for Smith. Great job, Christy. My name is Chrissy, but that's fine. I'll accept it because you know what? He put 5 stars. Great job, Christy. Love your shows and all the shows on Compound. Keep it up. Oh, he's talking about Compound Media. Yes, guys, if you have not at this point signed up for Compound Media, I don't know what you're waiting for because I'm even funnier over there. This episode is sponsored by Lucy. Lucy Nicotine is a company founded by Caltech scientists and former smokers looking for a better and cleaner nicotine alternative. Finally, tobacco alternatives that don't suck. These products were researched and developed for 3 years to be made for people, not patients. Lucy has created a nicotine gum with 4 milligrams of nicotine that come in 3 great flavors: wintergreen, pomegranate, and cinnamon. These are super convenient. You can enjoy them anywhere, on flights, at work, on the go, in the gym. If you don't go to the gym like me, I'll get back. You know, Planet Fitness keeps charging me, and I'll go back one day. And each of these gums have a wonderful, great taste. And I actually tried it myself, and it just tastes like regular, delicious gum. I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I was expecting it to taste like a cigarette, and it did not at all. So it's about to be 2021. If quitting smoking is on your list of to-dos, which I hope it is, I hope you at least get rid of your disgusting dip. Throw out that vape. It's an annoying habit, but you know it's not. Lucy Gum and Lozenges. This is the real deal. A subscription to Lucy comes directly to your door every month. It's so simple. You don't have to leave your house because Lucy has delivery down. And for all my CMP listeners, go to lucy.co and use the promo code CMP to get 20% off all products, including gum or lozenges. That's lucy.co and use the promo code CMP at checkout. And I have to give this disclaimer: warning, this product contains nicotine derived from tobacco, and nicotine is an addictive chemical. You know what else is addictive? Saving 20%. So go to lucy.co and be sure to use that promo code CMP. Also, we are sponsored by Adam and Eve. Go to adamandeve.com. They have so many great new toys on their website. I just was checking them out the other day. I think I'm going to order the womanizer. I think that's what it calls. It's like sucks at your lady parts. I don't know. It looked really cool to me. So go on to adamandeve.com and use the promo code CMP. You're going to get almost any item online on their whole store for 50% off. Plus free shipping, which is always good. And they have a ton of great new toys. Get something for your girlfriend, get something for your boyfriend, get something for your sister. The holidays are coming, man, and so should you. Go to adamandeve.com, use the promo code CMP. Get Joe 20% off. And more. It's 20 to 50, probably 20 to 50, actually. Okay, we're doing this.
Sure.
I'm so excited to have this guy on the podcast today. He is a very decorated comedian with a slew of credits, like Chelsea Lately, The Late Show with Craig Ferguson, Letterman twice. He had his very own Comedy Central half-hour special. Access. He's done it. He's done it all. He's done all the shows. He's done all the things. He is. What is the name of the radio show that you're doing now, or your?
Yeah, I just started this.
Okay.
It's called This, That, and the Other. With
This, That, and the Other. He's the host
Joe and
of
Laura.
This, That, and the Other. It's Joe Matarese. He's Italian. He's from New Rochelle. I also live in Westchester. So
I forgot that. And then you know what? I tend to do this when I do somebody's podcast. I'm like, let me see what their podcast is. And then I went on YouTube and I watched, I think you with Doug Stanhope a little bit, watched you with Jim Norton a little bit. And I saw you mention Westchester. I'm like, that's right. She lives, you live in like northern Westchester, as I remember.
yeah. Well, yeah, White Plains. Where is that? Is that near?
That's just a little north of me. You're about 10 minutes north.
It's so sad. I've lived here for like 4 years and I really don't even really know where I am on a map. Like, I don't even know the names of like the streets around me. I know how to go grocery shopping and like to a couple bars and that's it. Like, I'm not, if you were to put me in behind the wheel of a car, I wouldn't be able to like,
Yeah, I didn't grow up here,
yeah.
so my wife grew up here. That's why I'm in
Mm.
Westchester. So, but I've been here for geez over 12 years, so I kind of starting to learn.
Where did you grow up?
South Jersey.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, aren't there a lot of Italians over there?
No.
Just you?
It depends what part of South Jersey. There is one area called Washington Township where all the South Philly Italian people, when they wanted to move to the burbs, that's where they went. But I didn't live in that town. I lived in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, which was a very Jewish area, believe it or not.
Mm. Yeah, I was raised among many Jews myself, coming from Long Island. It took me like till college to realize like, oh, there's just not like loads of Jews everywhere. Not in a bad way. Jews are great, but I just didn't. They were prevalent on Long Island. They were everywhere, running
Yeah,
around, doing things.
they were the same way in Cherry Hill. Well, Cherry Hill's a big city. Cherry Hill's similar to White Plains and New Rochelle, where we're like big. So there's not one high school. There's probably New Rochelle I guess only has one public school, but has like other Catholic private schools all over. Well, Cherry Hill has an east and a west. So
Oh,
the big joke is if you went to east, you were on the Jewish side of town, and if you went to west, you were a little like tougher.
wow, which is actually like just exactly like Florida. Like the east coast of Florida is all the Jews, and the west coast, which is like Naples, is all like the wasps. And I mean, they're all retired, but
Yeah, that Naples, Florida is the richest part of Florida.
yeah, yeah,
We're given
that's
a
where.
lot of geographic details at the top of the podcast. I like
Oh,
it.
yeah.
What
Except
else?
I don't
What
know
other
my own
state?
neighborhood, but yeah, I can I can talk a lot about the coasts of Florida.
Where the Jews are?
Joe, where the Jews at? That's my new podcast. The last time I saw you, Joe, we were on this podcast together called Best of Westchester, and we were reviewing a restaurant. I can't remember the name, but you were there, and Larry Sharp was there. I think it might have been on the water. It had to have been in Westchester because that's the name
Yeah,
of the
it was
podcast.
in Yonkers.
I was in Yonkers. Do you remember the name of that restaurant, Frank? X2O, which is
That's right. I was gonna say your boyfriend or maybe your husband. I think I don't know. It was Frank
yeah.
was on. He was. Wasn't it his podcast?
It was his podcast, and it was a great podcast, honey. Oh no, I think they were going for a while, and then I don't know what happened. He was working with some other girl who may have not been at the same commitment level of him. I don't know.
It was one of the rare podcasts that comes with a great meal.
Yes, it was so good. Yeah, we got a huge. We could order pretty much whatever we want, and we would review the food and the drink for sure. And yeah, talk about the atmosphere. And they kind of closed it down just for us. It was like, oh, those good pre-COVID times.
Good old days.
I want to know, Joe, how has because you're pretty outspoken, in your comedy about dealing with your anxiety and anger, ADD. How has all of that been over the last 8, 9 months?
Good question. Good question by Chrissy.
Flare ups?
Um, you know, well, I'm a medicated guy, so I'm a medicated guy who also goes to therapy weekly. So if you took those away, if you said, Joe, you can't be on antidepressants and you can't go to therapy and you can't do stand-up comedy to release any of it, like I know for a fact I'd probably be really bad. Because before I was medicated, I was a worrier. Like there was always a lot of fear in my life. I didn't even like getting on airplanes, even if it was to go to like a great gig or like a beautiful
Oh.
place. I was one of those guys that I'd be like looking up to see how many clouds are in the air.
When the
I would be,
clouds are like determine if it's going to crash or not.
yeah. And I literally thought that like if there's great weather, you got a better chance. So I would And this is before, like the weather app on the iPhone. I'd have to figure out what the weather was
Yeah,
like
not
where
like,
I was landing. No,
yeah.
but where I was landing too. Or I was so crazy, I would pick layovers in places where it didn't snow. Like if you're going to fly East Coast to West Coast, commonly it goes through Chicago. But if you want to be really picky, you can go through like trying to think of
Texas.
Texas. You could go through
Could you,
Texas.
so
I'm
you'd
not.
go out of your way just to avoid potentially some
Yeah.
snow.
Yeah, I was like always worrying. So like now with a disease out there that if you get it, you could die. I can imagine I would have been a really bad hypochondriac, and like I'm the opposite. Like I just don't care, and I kind of like this situation of I've been doing comedy so long. You interview a lot of comics. I bet the newer comics can't stand it, right? They're like, I need to get on the road. I need to get and doing stand up. And
Yeah.
then you get someone who's been doing it his whole life, and he's on the older end of things. It's kind of nice.
It's like a
To
nice
just
break.
you're just not going anywhere. Like I used to, I would get anxious being away long too. Like if I like those, I used to say I wasn't at the level of comedy where you just come in for Saturday, do two shows and make $10,000. Like when they brought Joe Matarese to their comedy club, I'm there Wednesday,
You're sleeping
Thursday.
at the club. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're there.
I'm doing two shows Friday, three shows Saturday, and sometimes one show Sunday, and then coming home. And you know, when you're a guy who deals with mental issues, that's not good for a marriage. You know, or even
Is
when
it?
I was single, it wasn't good. It would just set you off. You just like going back and forth. So
It must be nice now because, like, yeah, comics are often not home for years and years. That's the deal. That's your career. You're a traveling umbrella salesman. It's just like it's part of the job. Do you feel like your being home more has improved your relationship with your wife?
yeah, I bet a lot of people also. It's either one or the other. If you have a semi bad relationship, it could probably fucking ruin it. Like it's gonna destroy you. It's like thinking you're gonna have kids to get closer. That's not gonna happen because kids are really hard. So we had a we have a good marriage. So and the only problems used to occur was as I'll tell you what my therapist would say, Joe, you live in your head. You're in your head a
Oh,
lot. He's like, be
so
present.
mine says that to me too.
I think we
Yeah.
see the same guy.
Are you talking about the comedy therapist?
Yeah, Alan.
I used to see his wife Beverly
So did I.
years ago, and I started going to see her because I was dating Pat Dixon, who was seeing Alan,
Okay.
and then we broke up. I mean, before we broke up, we would then see his therapist together, which I thought was like, which is not good because it's like
Yeah.
you already nobody's starting out with a. I just felt like it was the two of them ganging up on me.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh wait, well I'm paying to hear about how all of our problems are my fault, and then
Yep.
we broke up, and I was like, well, I can't continue to see Bev, so I had to scram because for a while it is fun to see the comedy therapist. You're bumping into people, in the waiting room, but yeah, and then I had to scram because I didn't want to bump into them.
Yeah, my wife and I went through the same thing where she saw Alan. I think we went to couples therapy with Alan a few times, and then he said, "Your wife should see my wife," and then we started doing
It's a
couples therapy.
racket. It's a
Yeah,
fucking racket.
it's a racket that somehow works, but it doesn't work for everybody, and I don't push it on everybody. But Alan works well for me. Like I had other therapists, and it didn't do shit. I didn't like it. It was bad, but this guy is perfect.
What do you like about him?
I like that I don't I don't really ever disagree. I don't ever go, "Oh, that's no, I don't agree with you. What your advice is there." He's always dead on. He nails me. He's really in tune. He's really listening. He's not. You go to a bad therapist, you know the difference. You know what? It's like it's just like a marriage, right? I mean, I knew my wife was the right person for me because I didn't meet her till I was in my, 36, 35 or 36. I had dated a lot at that point. So you see the difference. So
You had spread your seed and you were a grown man.
I totally did. I mean, I slept with comics. I did all the things that comedians do before they finally find the person that works with them.
Waitresses?
Waitresses. Not a lot of girl comedians, or as my wife gets pissed when I say girl, women. When she's like, "You should say women,
Girl is
women.
fine.
Don't
I'm
say
fine with girl.
girls."
It makes me feel youthful.
Yeah, a few girl comedians, women comedians. Um,
Who?
I slept with a few.
Who's your favorite one?
Who's the favorite girl comic that I slept with? Like
Hmm.
favorite in what way?
Uh, yeah, name the top three, actually.
Well, I had an 8-year relationship with a girl that did a little bit of stand up.
Okay.
Like we met at an open mic. Then when she started dating me, she quit because she said it was too much pressure.
She's like, she realized she sucked. She's like, I can't keep
Yeah,
up with
and
him.
the saddest thing, she didn't have any self-esteem back then. She's great now. We're still friends. She's married. She actually lives in Florida where we were talking about earlier. And she was hilarious. Like she had everything. And I knew that she should do comedy. I could just tell. And she had such a dysfunctional life that it was
She's
too
perfect.
dysfunctional
Oh,
to do stand up. Like that's how bad it was.
I didn't know there was such a thing as being too dysfunctional. You would think that would
Yeah.
just help her.
She said, "Fuck it, I'm going into acting." That's what she did.
Oh, goo.
Yeah, she did that for a long time. But so you wouldn't know her. So
Okay.
I can't even throw her out there because she's
Okay.
not.
Who
She
would I
didn't do
know?
let's see, random hookups. See, I'm so much older than you, so
I know these people. I know Joan Rivers.
I'm trying to think if you want to know like dating, or you want to know like who you slept with and then blew off and hates your guts now.
Yeah, who hates your guts now that you slept with and blew off?
Let's see if I can think. There was a few girl comics told me that they had they started to know. Like I didn't know they would know, but like one of like I would hook up with one and then break up with her and then start dating another one, and somehow they would talk because we're all comedians, and they said they had a term for it when
Word
I
got
dumped
around.
them. You got Matarese. They go, you got Matarese, which was like
Wow.
1 week, sex, done.
It's a verb.
Yeah, I got Matarese. Um, see, I don't like.
You don't like to kiss and tell?
I don't really.
There's no way
like,
they're going to hear this.
I won't say if I had sex with this person, but I'll tell you like different girls that I like.
Yeah, kiss or more.
I dated and that I really liked them as people,
Okay.
but we weren't good together.
Okay.
Believe it or not, Sarah Contreras, who's not a lot older than me, but I bet she's about 8 or 9 years older than me.
Okay. All right.
She was like a brand new comedian.
That's
Her
when
and
you
I
got to get
dated.
them. That's when you got to.
Her and I dated. Then there was, geez, this is bad that I can't think of her name, and you definitely know her. She's gonna see this too. She'll be like, "Thanks a lot." She's Greek,
Greek.
but not
Greek.
Carrie Karavis, but she's good friends with Carrie.
Who's a Greek comic, Frank? Name the female Greek comics.
You know her.
Who?
She's married now. I think her husband owns a pizza place in the village.
Who? Greg, that's a boy. The only Greek, the only Greek comics I know would be like Giannis.
Very attractive, very I like
ethnic.
ethnic.
You like him
Like,
ethnic?
She looks like she would be from like Israeli or something. Why am I forgetting her name? I haven't seen her in so long, and she still does stand up.
Rachel Feinstein? No, I don't know if she's Greek.
No, she's super Greek, and like I think she even had her own like Greek restaurant. But that sounds like Carrie Karavis.
Yes.
Carrie
Yeah.
Karavis and I like went on like I don't even know if you would. Did you
little
ever have
date.
this happen with a comic? We were friends for so long that we thought we should date, and then we just like we'd have these moments where we're like, I guess we should make out, and it was like, I don't really want to. You're really hot. I thought she was really pretty, but it was just like there was this sister brother vibe. I have that
Mm.
with most female comics. That's why I kind of stopped dating comics,
Well, it's
like
so easy to have sort of dates because, the comedy atmosphere is such that like you could basically have like a writing date with somebody that ends up okay now well if I like you now it's a regular date hanging out before after during shows it's like you're getting to know the person you're like could be
yeah.
spending hours in a weekend with them so
And then you date actors. So I dated some female actors that I would meet in acting class. You'd have a scene that
ooh.
you'd have a scene where you're making out with them. Next thing you know, you date them for a week, and
And
you
then you
do.
Matarese them.
Then they dump you. I had one dump me bad. She Mataresed me.
Wow.
This girl was, she was way younger. I was like 32. She was like 21. This is how insecure I was. I'll never forget this. She was going to come and see me do comedy at the comic strip, and I knew it was like a late spot. And it could be empty. So I was playing her a cassette. That's how long ago it was. A cassette in the car of me doing well before we got to the shitty spot.
Oh my
'Cause
god.
it was,
You're
I,
like this is what it sounds like normally. Look how many people are
yeah.
laughing. That's
It's like
funny.
when you date someone in the business, you know that shit's important to them. Like if you date another comic and you suck at comedy, like that's going to turn her off. So it's the same
Hmm.
with dating an actress. If she thinks your acting's really bad, I don't know if she's going to want to go on a date with you. And then if she sees you do stand up and you kill, like you got a way better shot. You
That's
just do.
true. That's true. It is a little bit more impressive when you're doing well, but I never felt like I needed to hide because I'm like, you know what? You're going to see me suck eventually. So it's like, what can I do to prevent that from happening? It's like, you
I,
should just like me for me.
Another thing that, and this is going to sound like a very stereotyping somebody. I found that I didn't find myself attracted to female comedians. I don't know if you ever heard this one. I've heard I don't know. I think maybe Larry David or Seinfeld said this in some old interview. But when a girl's really funny, it's kind of masculine. It's
Hmm.
not feminine because there's how many. I was saying this
I have
recently
heard
about.
this. Yeah.
I've been saying this about female comedians. How come everyone knows in comedy you have to kind of be your own thing and find this unique angle that no one's ever really explored? There's not a lot of girl comedians that are dainty on stage, that they're like very female and very they're not
What's her face?
they're
Who's
like
the super soft spoken? Like she's blonde and she has like kind of bug eyes and she talks like this. God, I'm like
oh that yeah, I think
blanking on
she's
her name.
hilarious. We're freezing on
She
everybody's name.
seems
That's
kind of dainty to me. What the
You're
fuck is her
right.
name? Maria something?
Maria Bamford.
Maria Bamford. She's like
Hmm.
she's soft spoken.
And think about it. She stands out amongst a huge pack. I think she's hilarious. She did a special where it's just her mom and dad in the
Oh,
audience
that's cute. Wow.
in
If you
their
can
living room.
I mean, that's the hardest audience. Not only is it two people, but it's like,
Your
ugh, it's
mom
your
and dad.
parents. Oh man.
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you mean because I like early on, and plus you're a woman in your 20s who's having a lot of sex. You're supposed to talk about what you know in your life and it happens to be that. Like if you're a woman who's pursuing stand up, you're probably also making a lot of other bad choices. Yeah, like sleeping around, getting super drunk, I don't know, right? It's like you're up late, you're going to see what happens. And then, so there was always some of that. That was always part of an aspect of my personality. But as time went on, I was like, okay, it's got to be a bit more than this. And once I realized like how many people are kind of like, not big fans of women who are like extra sexual or extra dirty. I'm like, all right, well, I don't need to go out of my way to hit these notes if a lot of people are turned off by it.
Well, you know what I think the reason is? I'm going to put this on me. I don't think it's all guys. I think it's me. I'm an insecure guy. I'm not you know, if I ever was cocky, it's like for about 5 minutes after I come off stage when I killed, or then I might feel a little bit confident. But my overall being, and my wife would tell you, it's not as bad now that I medicate it and go to therapy, but it was always questioning. Is this good? Am I good? Am I good enough? That was my personality. So to date someone who's really funny, I mean, that you got to be and to also be a comedian, you got to be really secure.
True. True. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But so many
pe-
comedians are not secure. I think that's like why a lot of us are attracted to it because it's an outlet. Like I knew that I got into stand up because I didn't feel like I could be honest with the people in my house growing up. Like I didn't feel like anybody cared about my feelings. So I was like, oh, when I went from improv and I was like, okay, I needed something more autonomous because, you're paying for a room to rehearse in. There's 5 other people. You fucking hate half of them. You do one show, maybe one show a week if you're on a team. It's like, so it's not enough. I was like, I need more. And then, as I would get into stand up, I was like, oh, this is great. This is so freeing. I can be honest with these strangers, like in a way that I can't with people I've known my whole life. But I think a lot of comics are insecure and you're doing it like the laughs are so validating and so it's addictive.
well, this will also show you how much I didn't want to be with someone who was a powerful female. I didn't even date girls that were tall. Like I couldn't date a girl like my height or taller.
How
Forget it.
tall are
Like
you?
some guys like I'm 5'10".
You're tall. I would consider you tall. Like
Yeah,
you're
so
in,
if I
yeah.
met a girl that was like 6 foot or five, even like 5'8", and then she puts heels on and she's a little bit taller than me, I used to feel really, I almost felt effeminate. I don't know why. And I think we're
It's
diving.
traditional. It's traditional male female shit. And unless you're like a super woke person, it's like the majority of people are not going to deny, that most people have like I have a lot of typical female shit going on and it's like, yeah, it sounds like you have typical male shit going on. Like I don't want to date a guy who's shorter than me either. I'm 5'3". Like luckily most of them are, I mean, I've hooked up with short guys. Sure, I'm not shallow, you know. There was this one
Right.
guy, he
You'll just
worked
wear
at the
flats. You'll
I
wear
will wear flats
sneakers.
and I'll be upset just like I dated an alcoholic. I didn't drink as much. I wasn't happy about it, but it's like I will do that. I will that's one of my services I provide as girlfriend. I'll suck it up. And so, yeah, I like it when a guy is kind of like being kind of like a little bit protective or a little bit like sticking up for me. And so I understand, like, as a guy, you're like, yeah, I want to be the taller one. Like, maybe I do want to be the funnier one. So,
Well, yeah, and to me, like I'm talking like there's some excessively masculine female comics. I could name them where you could watch them do crowd like someone heckles them, they
they'll
can rip
destroy
that
them.
person just a new fucking asshole. And I used to get jealous because I was like, when I do that, they want to kick my ass. Like a
Really?
girl comic that is masculine can just own them.
It could also just be right. And I see that as masculine too, but really it's like, if you think about it, it really is just like strength. And you have to show strength on stage in front of an audience because then they will take advantage and they will take your time. And like the mouthy drunk guy or girl will be like, oh, I'm helping the show. And then you have to put them in your place. Like I am way more confident and like sassier on stage than I am in real life. Like I will not tolerate someone interrupting me on stage, but in my life, like yeah, like that's what I'm working on with my therapist is like sticking up for myself and like confidence issues. And as I'm sure as you know from seeing Alan, like a lot of it stems back from your parents. And it sucks to be like, oh, like I thought I went into therapy thinking I just had daddy issues. And it's like, no, I have daddy and mommy issues. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who?
But I don't know. I was gonna ask you like what sort of damage you got from your parents, but I don't know if that's
I love hearing my questions are going to be because I could tell when I watched your podcast. I'm like, she looks like she prepares. I love when someone interviews you where they prepared. It's fun hearing what
really.
questions they want to know. Yeah,
This
what
is
their
like
curiosity is.
I'm not even I have my prepared stuff, but it's like I also am listening to you and it's like if I hear an interesting nugget that I want to
Hmm.
dig into.
I'll
So
tell
that
you. What was your question going to be? What did my
yeah, what do you
parents?
if you could sum up what damage you think you got from your parents or how you were raised that you're like currently working on now in therapy?
Currently working on now. Well, I
Or
mean,
not even working on, just
there's been
like
so many different things that I think we've gotten actually worked on and gotten through that some things that I never even knew were bothering me until some guy knows how to ask you the right question. It's like being when It's like when someone's a good interviewer, doing an interview is great. It's fun. When someone's not a good interviewer, it becomes like you get nervous. It's not enjoyable. You're like,
Oh,
what?
yeah, there's
Yeah.
plenty of these podcasts where I am like obsessively checking the time, but I'm not trying to look like I'm checking the time because sometimes like it'll be someone I don't know that well. I don't know their history that well. Like maybe I should have done more prep and I am like, please make it to an hour, you know?
Yeah.
What was the thing that you kind of discovered that what you mentioned, like you didn't even know it was a thing, but you discovered it and
I
fixed it?
remember, well, there was two different moments. This is pretty revealing. Some
Okay, I'm
people,
ready.
there was a moment where I realized that my dad had never said he loved me to me. And I didn't even know that it bothered me. I didn't even know that I needed to hear it till the therapist went, "Would you like to hear them say that to you?" And I go, "I guess I
Yeah.
would. I guess I would." And he's like, T- "Go tell him that." And I was just like
Oh,
that's what I liked about my therapist is that he would give you like these little homework things. And for some reason, and I was never a guy that listened to a boss. I always got fired from jobs. I did terrible in school. I didn't like someone telling me what to do. There's something about my therapist when he says you need to do this, I would do it immediately. Like literally, I remember as I'm walking to the car, I called my dad
wow.
and I would use the therapy as the way to get in because that's the hardest part when someone tells you need to do it in your life. It's like, how the hell do I ask for that? You know, I'd be like, I was in therapy and this just came up, and dude, that was something that just changed my whole relationship with my dad.
What
Um,
was his reaction to that?
well, it had two pieces because there was like a moment because I was a guy having an anger problem, right? I started therapy the first time when I got fired from a comedy club for
Which club
yelling at
was
heck.
it?
It was City Steam in Hartford, and uh, I started, and that's how it started. Like the therapist goes, "So what brings you here?" That's what they ask you the first
Yep.
time. It's usually something went
A
down.
court order. Yeah.
What brought court order? Yeah. And I said I got fired from a club. I keep yelling at hecklers. It keeps getting me in trouble. I go off on them and I don't stop. And I want to kill them when I'm on stage.
For real? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just angry.
Yeah. I
I know
used to
that
I
feeling.
used to compare it to that scene in Good Will Hunting when Matt Damon's punching the guy on the schoolyard and they're pulling him away and he won't stop. Like I would be like slamming the heckler, and they shut the mic off when I was in Hartford. That's how I should have known I was
Oh,
going to get
man.
fired. All of a sudden, got no volume. I'm like,
As it's happening, were you like, I feel like I'm spending too much time on this? Was it like the amount of time or was it what you were saying that was so
both,
bad? Both.
both. Mostly the amount of time would make, it makes audio. It's so funny. Once again, living in your head. If you're in your head, you're not in the moment. You don't know that you're going way too long and just move on, dude. Like the audience would be going, okay, we know he's a dick, but move on.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like you have to check your own selfishness because you're like, it might be satisfying if it was just you and that guy. That's totally satisfying. That's a worthwhile fight. But then you're like, fuck, am I gonna like, make this whole room full of people listen to it?
Yeah. Well, it came up. It was one therapy session where it was the dad, I love you, and that my dad also had the anger problem. And he's similar to me. Like you would never think that we're angry. My dad's even more happy-go-lucky than I am. But when he would get mad, it was like what they used to say about me. They would go, "You jeckled," like a whole different face, and I wasn't me anymore. And I was just straight angry. And my dad's 6'3". He was scary. And as a teenager, I cursed out my mom at dinner, as many maybe teenagers do, but I would be a little bit excessive with, yelling at her. And they tried to ground me, and I walked out the front door, and my dad lost his shit because I cursed at my mom. And he tried to stop me from going out the front door, and all his weight accidentally went on me, and I broke my leg.
What?
Yeah, and I
Wait, so
never
he
and
tried to block you from leaving, and he somehow ended up breaking your leg.
my dad's weight went on my back to try to stop me, and my leg caved under outside of our
Whoa.
house. and I had never gotten a real apology from it. And the therapist said, ask him for an apology about that, and ask him about that you'd like to hear I love you. So boom, I did them both, and
Wow.
that sequence changed my whole relationship with my dad, and we are super close now.
Wow.
We were always close. Like I didn't realize I was holding it against him, but that definitely lifted a little bit of a weight off me. But without the medication, I could have been going to therapy 5 days a week, and I would have still had anger problems on stage. Even now, I take 20 milligrams, which I started at 10, and I take 20 now. If I try to go down to 10, or literally miss, like anyone who's on an antidepressant will know, like sometimes you forget to take them for like 2 days. I remember I'm like going on to my third day. This is when I know I need to be on meds, and my wife will just be like, Joe, she'll like yell my name from downstairs, and I'll be like, what? Like it's just that's what comes out.
Oh
What?
man.
Like we've been around angry people, like how we just like
Yep. That's how
anger
my
is your
dad would be too. My dad was very angry also. I think he was his anger. I mean, he's the last person. He would be a therapist's dream just because he has so much shit going on. He's angry from his childhood. Like I don't think his dad showed him enough love, and then his dad broke up with his mom at a time where nobody was really getting divorced, and like he got involved with them. He was in this Mooney cult. I've talked about it on past episodes, but like I can see I'm like so I feel like good at therapy and self like an analysis that I'm like analyzing everybody else in my family.
it is easy to do it on others. It's the same with stand up. It's easy to see what a comedian sometimes you think should be doing on stage, what they're not doing, but you can't do it for yourself. You're like, I don't know what I should be doing up here, but I know that that's boring, and what you were saying before wasn't. You should do more of that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And then they're like, "Oh, people always say work on yourself first." So now that you've worked on your anger, you've worked on anxiety. I mean, it all they all kind of work together. You kind of see how you've grown from that time at the club. And so it's not just dealing with it on stage. We also have to deal with like heckling and people hassling us as comics online, in the form of trolls.
Hmm.
And do you feel like because I mean, I also have been very much trolled by trolled by trolls, as
Yeah.
have you, as of like really most comics. I think if they're doing okay, they have somebody giving them a hard time. Like what have you learned from your previous like interactions with trolls, or do you feel like the work you've done now, you'd be like, if I could go back, I wouldn't have reacted in XYZ
I
way?
definitely look back and go, "Whoa, that was a rookie mistake." But the trolls don't know that you were a rookie at trolls. I never had them before. I didn't know. I didn't even know it bothered me. It's like I was working on some whole other thing. Um, and this was like this new thing that like found a little crease in my brain that was still open that I didn't know about. And the first time it started to happen, I did the dumbest shit you could do.
What was the first time?
Um, Well, the first time was we can get. Do you want to get specific? I
The
mean,
example I had was with Red Bar that I was
yeah.
going to talk
Mine's this.
about.
I was gonna say ours is with the same person. So if when you talk about it here, it's gonna end up on his
Yeah.
show. I've
And
gotten
like,
used to that. I know that
yeah. And you
if
know
I
what?
do anything, I'm ending up on his show. Anything.
For those of you who don't know, it's this guy. His name is Red Bar. I sometimes call him Red Barn. Like I sometimes mess it up, but like it's Red Bar. And he does a show where he's a professional troll of other comics.
Mhm.
He likes to pick them apart. And it's like, God bless him. He's doing what he loves. He has fans. Everybody should be able to do what they love. And if you have fans, great.
It's kind of his thing. And when you don't know, he tried to explain it to me when I got mad the first time that I saw it happening.
And if you get mad, then he likes that even more and leans
Yeah.
into it even harder. Like if he's getting to you, yeah,
I did every rookie mistake.
to him.
I wrote an email immediately. It was because it wasn't like someone wrote a comment.
Did it start on Compound Media? Because you would go on Compound Media shows often, and he had a show on Compound, but then he would kind of like shit on you on his show, and then the issue was like, oh, Joe's kind of like a frequent guest here, that's kind of shitty. And then I think what Keith gave him
It
a warning or
started it
something.
it started when he was on Compound Media, but he also was still doing his own show. But I didn't know he was on Compound Media. I had never heard of him. I wasn't some guy that would come on Anthony's show and then look at all the and study all the programs that were on there. I knew a few guys that had shows. This is
Yeah,
like
nobody
before
does
Gino
that. Yeah.
Bisconte.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
even think Pat Dixon had a show there yet.
Wow. So that's early days,
It
early days
was
of
early
Compound.
days. I could be wrong. Maybe Pat did, and I apologize if Pat did back
Well,
then.
now
But
he's got 12. Yeah.
it's a while ago.
Mhm.
Yeah. So basically, what happened was, I hate telling this. It's such a long story. It's one of those that you have to tell you. Everyone has that like troll that you have to. They're like, whoa, how did it? What? They always. This is the question you get because if people Google me, they see these things that they've said about me, and they're like, why are they doing this to you? You get that one a lot. Why? And you got to explain it all.
Probably because it bothered you and you let it be known that it bothered you, and that just fed
Yeah,
them.
well, because it was affecting, it was so many different things. It wasn't like just a bother. It was like a business bother. It's a financial bother. When you're new to the troll thing, you think, there's a time in a comedian's career when you're a little naive. You think if people say negative shit about you, it's going to make you be out of the business. That's what you think. You're like, if they're writing these things about me, I'm not going to get gigs anymore. And then I can't do what I love and I can't get money.
That fear is justified, especially in the last few years when people have been like straight up losing work because of cancel culture and shit, and somebody writing. This was even recently. Like it was like someone was trying to get Aaron Berg's gigs canceled. Like people have tried to get my gigs canceled.
I think it's probably all the same people, because it seems like this isn't a coincidence that we're all on one thing and then they're all in this one place. And they're all doing the same thing. Yeah, they made fake accounts. They made death threats at comedy clubs I was going to do where I almost lost the gig. And then I've had them make exact pages that look just like my social media pages and contact bookers that they saw I had on my tour list and said they were me and they needed to cancel the week.
Oh, wow. That's very detailed. That's a lot of work to put in.
Yeah, they were doing all kind of stuff. And you've seen these full documentaries that this one guy makes on
Porcelain.
2 or 3 of them. Yeah,
This guy,
full length.
This guy's name is Porcelain. He's done a couple documentaries on comics, one on you, one on Jim Norton. Was it at all flattering?
No, it's not flattering. And then he likes to contact you like he's your buddy, and he doesn't. It's like, dude, I'm too confused to even try to figure this shit out. I don't even want to figure it out. I don't care. Like I'm on Cameo.
Yes, I'm on Cameo too.
So I've had people that are friends with him contact me, want me to do a video for Porcelain for his birthday, and I'm like, I said, listen,
funny.
If you want to pay me the $40, I don't care. I'll do it. I don't really care. But so, I mean, if any comics could learn from this, I mean, the mistakes I made. So mine was that I made this pilot. Or I paid Mike Vecchione. I had on, I paid him to write monologue jokes. I had this. If anyone knows my way past, I used to do a podcast called Fixing Joe for like 6 years.
Yes,
where the audience was my doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I'd tell you the problem. I had a voicemail. I'd let you leave messages with your advice, and I would try to figure myself out every week and evolve.
Was this before therapy or during?
During, but it was before medication.
Okay, so like extra therapy.
Bill Burr was my first guest on that show.
Wow.
When I got fired from Hartford, I had Bill on because I knew Bill had that Philadelphia heckler incident. So I had him. I used to try to match the comedian guest up with what the issue was that week.
Very smart.
Yeah, so I had this talk show idea. I said, what if Fixing Joe can work as a talk show, but instead of like The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, where the host does a monologue about current events, the show's called Fixing Joe, and the monologue's about shit that's going on in his life, but he has jokes about it. And if you had a budget, you could show some funny reality moments in the monologue from Joe's life. And now, and the second piece, the second segment is you have a round table because I was a Chelsea lately regular back then. So I had this like, I saw how well round tables with comedians could work if you set it up right. So I was like, I'm going to do a round table segment where we comedically give me advice. So I hired cameramen and everything to shoot this thing with my own money. And this was kind of a mistake. So I picked Anthony Cumia, Jim Norton, and Artie Lang as my roundtable. Because in my head, I'm thinking
They're really funny. Yeah.
they'll be funny and they'll pack the place. So I'll make the money at the door to even out the budget, right? Because they're comics that they don't care if you charge to get in. They're rich, you know. They don't care that if you made $1,000 and you used it towards your shoot, whatever, right? I didn't make $10,000.
Yeah, you know that there's costs associated with something like that.
Yeah. So when you deal with these famous guys like Anthony and Jim and Artie, if anyone knows about when you have these comedian famous friends, you're lucky enough that they did the favor to do your pilot, right? What you're not going to get is to sit down and talk to them and explain what you need. Like, you just got to accept they're coming and let's fucking turn the cameras on.
Yeah,
right?
they're kind of like wild animals. You have to just like any podcast that they're on, you're like, oh, it's like you just got to let them loose. And like anytime any of those guys have done a show with me, well, it's more so like I've done a group, podcast, a group wet spot. I think Anthony had done one. You just have to be like, oh, I'm not in control of this. Like, you're the legend.
Well, that was the mistake I kind of made. So I had a live band too, because I wanted it to be like a talk show.
The Fixing Joe band.
Yep, had the Fixing Joe band, multi-camera shoot, and I did my monologue at the top. Everything was okay, not great, because one of the things what goes wrong when you book Cumia, Artie Lang, and Jim Norton, you get their fans. That they might not be the same kind of style of comedy that you do, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't bomb in my monologue, but I didn't crush it. I know that. I remember going, "This is
You're
hard."
already
this is
feeling
like they hate
starting
me.
this down.
I could feel hate, from the audience. I'm like, they're waiting for me to fucking stutter or
Plus,
have one joke bomb.
You're already somebody who lives in your head, so it's like you're probably thinking it was worse than it actually was. Like, who knows? But once you have it in your head that you didn't do as well as you could have, like that's gonna run around and.
So then, this is the only smart thing I did, and it was only for a second. Not a second. It was the first. I bring out Anthony as the first guest. Anthony comes out, the band plays. Anthony starts singing goofy. It's really funny. Him and I start fucking around with each other, talking about shit he's making fun of that I'm asking him for advice. It's going well. And I'm like, this is good, right? Then I bring out Jim and Artie. And it went from good to holy shit, they're roasting the fuck out of me, right? I'm not getting any good advice. My whole pilot idea is down the tubes, and I'm getting a little nasty at times with them because they're slamming the fuck out of me, right? Instead of what I should have done, now that I look back, is it's the same with how you should deal with trolls. Okay, your pilot's not working, fuck it.
Just have fun.
Just have a good time right now. But I'm sitting there, I don't know how to come back. Their crowd thinks I'm unfunny. I'm bombing because I'm not that. I don't have, I'm an ADD guy, first of all. So when you got guys that are, they're zinging at this speed, and I'm like a boxer just getting like hit like this.
Oh, man.
And they're hilarious. They're killing me, right? It's really funny. And I think at one moment, when I come back at people, it's like it's not funny.
Yeah, you're feeling angry because you've lost control of the show. You're thinking like, did I ruin my pilot? Can I turn this around? Should I turn it around? Is
Anthony ever gonna have me on his show again? You're thinking stupid shit like that, because I was like going on Anthony's show a lot, and I really wanted to be good on his show back then. I wanted it to go well. So I think at one moment I say to them, I go, I think there's something about being quick-witted that could be bad for relationships. I go, because you guys are great comedians, but you're
Oh,
really bad in relationships, aren't you? None of you really have like a long lasting one. And the
oh
crowd was just like,
man. I would
whoa.
hate, yeah, I would have hated to hear that too. I'd be like, oh shit.
Yeah. They were like, what the fuck's this guy's problem? So whatever. Long story. The whole thing, they keep
You were
killing
trying to
me.
collectively roast all of them at the same
They
time,
just I
probably.
only have that one thing, I think, maybe a few other assholey things. I don't say assholey funny things when I get mad. I just say it's like when I would get in trouble as a comedian on stage. If someone told me I sucked, I'd slam them once with funny, and then I'd start getting really mad, and it's like not funny
Uh,
anymore when you're really mad. So the crowd was like, "What the fuck?" So then the taping gets done, and I'm like, well, it's really funny. I might as well. I'm gonna put it up behind a paywall. That's what I think in my head, because I've made like bad business mistakes at
you didn't want
times.
to give it away for free because it
No,
had all these killers on it.
I was like, these guys got crazy fans. Who the hell knows? I'll put it up behind a paywall and charge like $1. I think I had already been charging for certain podcast episodes that I would put in this paywall.
After that shoot, were you in the red? Like, were you able to cover the costs of, if you remember that
Yeah,
far back?
I think
Okay.
by the end of it, it was like it was probably a wash. I didn't make money. No, I did not make money, but I didn't lose. If I lost anything, it was like $150. It wasn't
Oh,
like I lost
yeah.
$10,000. So not only did I handle the moment wrong, um, here's what's weird. Some people love it because I think it's almost like it was really funny because I was getting mad.
Because you
It's
were
like you
losing
got
it.
anyone knows comedy. What's fun? Opposites make funny. So you got three guys killing a guy that's like, what the fuck? Why are you hurting me? If I
Oh.
was, I don't know if it would have been as funny for the viewer if I was not caring. Like I think it got funnier that I was fucking
Yeah,
upset.
so really, you did the right thing.
For the viewer, I did the right
This
thing.
was
For my
all for you guys. Yeah.
yeah. So then I have it on the paywall. This is how dumb I am and new to trolling. Someone pays the fucking $1 or $2, makes a full copy of it, and puts it on YouTube, and it gets like I don't know 75,000 views in like 2 days,
Oh,
and
man.
yeah, it's getting a lot of views. And then all of a sudden, where this red bar thing comes in, I guess he has like a team of guys. I don't know how it works. There's a team over there. It's like an arsenal. They do this little fish hook moves on you. So they pretend like they're on your side. So you turn on your Instagram and it says, "Hey man, you got to put Red Bar on. He's live right now and he's making fun of you. It's not nice of him what he's
Yeah, they
saying." And
always like to tag you. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm like, again, I'm new to it. I turn it on. He's showing the whole fucking thing from YouTube that was under a paywall. First of all, I'm like, I'm not going to make any money now. It's
Aw.
behind a paywall. This guy stole it and he's airing the whole fucking thing. Then he's pulling my whole stand up career. It was like he spent 3 hours on me,
Oh,
just
yeah.
shitting on me. It
He'll
wasn't
sometimes
5 minutes.
do 8-hour shows.
Yeah, it was like a 3 hour shit on me. I look up his website. I send him an email. I go, "Hey man, what's going on? Why are you doing this?" And he sends an email back right away. He's like, "Dude, it's fine. You know, this is just the way we do things over here. No
Hmm.
hard feelings. You shouldn't have got serious. Blah 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 blah." And then I got mad and I sent him an email. Matt, this was the biggest mistake. I said, "I go, I'm Italian. And I don't know if you know how Italians deal with people that talk too much." That's what I said.
Oh, the cement boots.
Yep. And then it was like I was trying to, I was really connecting with there's the scene in Goodfellas where they stick a fucking ice pick in the back of the guy's head and
Sounds
he goes, "I
like
thought he'd never shut up."
it sounds like one of Stuttering John's threats, because he threatens like me and Carl and anybody who really talks about him on a podcast. But he hates me because he came on my podcast and he made himself look so stupid, and he just like can't stand that he did that to himself. Like, so he's trying to. I think he has it out against me. I don't know why, because it's like I just was trying to be polite, but he dug himself a hole. So yeah. So
Yeah,
you were
so
like,
I
you
I
threatened
dug
back.
myself into a hole and then they just like how when I got a little mad during the live show and Artie and Jim and Kumia knew how to pounce on it. It's almost like, do you ever watch an animal see an injured other animal and they're like, I remember my friend had a dog once, and there was like a rabbit that was like a little injured, and you just saw the dog like, yes, and it just went over there, and bit right into the rabbit.
Mhm.
Like that's what it's like when you show that you're mad. It's like that's heaven for those people.
Yeah.
So they harassed me to the point where I was like, it was hard to sleep. It was really
Oh
bothersome. Like
no.
I had to literally grow as a person and get past it and realize it's like, it's a learning thing. It's like, I'm such a better person now that I went through that. I think that's why I'm comfortable now.
That's
And I
good.
realize it's like you brought that on yourself, and that he does do that to everybody. It's like then I start watching and I'm like, oh, this guy he doesn't like anything. There's never a 10-minute moment where he's like, oh, but I saw this one special, you guys got to watch it, it's really good. He doesn't do that. It's all what sucks about this, what sucks about that, da, 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 and that's what
Yeah,
he's
and he attracts people who like to also complain. It's like it's easier. It's always easier to find something negative than there is to find something positive. And it's entertaining for his fans. And um,
yeah.
do you think that your anger came from like not being able to control the situation, like with the trolls and with your live show at the cellar? Like, do you think that's what it boils down to?
Ooh, you're really psychoanalyzing me now. I mean, definitely a lot of like, think about it. Why are you afraid on an airplane? Because you're not flying the airplane. Not that if we were in a thunderstorm and I was the pilot and I knew how to fly, that I'd be less scared. I think I'd still be like, oh shit.
Oh yeah, when I get on an airplane, I just like I always have that moment. I'm like, we're gonna be fine. Everything's great. We're gonna, you know what I mean? Like I just do my own little like manifesting. I'm like, it's gonna be smooth, gonna be great. Even when it's like the worst turbulence, I'm like, this is no big deal. Everyone's gonna live. I just
Well,
like fake it till I make it.
well, it's funny how we were saying how you can give another person advice about these things. It's like what you really realize is it's okay for people to not like you. It's fine. Like and I had told a friend this today because he was going through that, and I don't think it came from control. I think it comes from
Oh, wanting to be liked. Mm.
insecurity and needing to be heard. Like that's why you become a comedian. So like I'm sitting there going, I made a second podcast where I aired it explaining like explaining, oh, you're about to hear the pilot taping that goes wrong, but this is why it went wrong and this is what happens, thinking that was going to fix everything, which it doesn't. They don't give a shit. It's like so as you mature through the whole thing, you realize you don't need to like tell them what really happened and this. Oh, I just want them to know how like my friend was going through that. He was somebody watched this documentary. I don't want to say this about him because this is like something he confided in with me today, but I gave him that advice, and the advice was something Patrice O'Neill said, which is you don't want everybody to like you because you're not good if everybody likes you.
Then you're too
When
bland.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're bland. You're for everybody. That's not exciting. Like, yeah, they're not like, I have different people that I work with on my social media, and sometimes you'll get these people that help you, and they're like, we got to turn them. Let's make them your fans. I'm like, they're never gonna be my fans. It's fine. We're different. It's okay. Like, I don't care if they hate me. If
That was a big lesson for me too, is like it's okay not like really being okay with not everybody liking you. And that just happened over the years through not even just trolls, but like other comedians trying to cancel me. Like it's almost like the more I leaned into my personality and my sense of humor, the more I would piss people off. And I guess it's usually like the wokesters, but and I think comedians are particularly vulnerable to that because it's like there is a part of it that's like, yeah, I'm in comedy because I want people to like me. I want to make people laugh, which means that they like me. It's like it's approval is kind of wrapped up in it to a degree.
Right. But the only way to be good at making people laugh is to be somebody that might not make people laugh. It's like, I mean, my wife, I don't think like Bill Burr would care. It's like, I think Bill Burr's really funny, my wife doesn't like his comedy, and she knows him, and she's met him a few times, likes him as a person. She's like, she doesn't like Sam Kinison, my wife, and like he's one of my favorites of all time in so many different ways. It's just not for her. She can't watch angry comedy, but somebody else loves angry comedy. So that's fine, and then also the other thing, which is they're fucking with you. It's fun to fucking get you upset. Like, it's funny.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I would never like go at I would never like intentionally go at somebody. Like I'll defend myself. Like fuck yeah. And if I can roast a troll, like I try not to like hang around too long because right, then you do get
No.
into that upset
I
place.
don't even bother. If they say something nasty, I might write one thing back that I try to make funny, but not
Yeah.
like I don't say anything that's gonna like what I said to Artie and Jim, which is like I thought I was being funny, but when you really think about it, that's like too hurtful. Even though when you go to these roasts, sometimes the joke that's really hurtful is so funny. It's like weird. It's like something I learned. I remember in a sitcom class once, the acting teacher said you got to find the love. It's really true. Even in a roast, if there's a little bit of love, even though you're saying the meanest shit ever, it's funny.
So at the time you were like, this will be my comeback. I know I have this. I know they're not in relationships. I'm in one. Like this is like, maybe that wasn't coming from a place of love, but you were like, I'm gonna get him on this.
Yeah, and it should never come from you motherfucker. Like I want to kill you. Like when I was on stage and someone heckled me, and now I'm saying things to wound them for the rest of their life. I want to hurt their feelings so bad they're crying in the parking lot. That's not good.
No, no, that's not good. But we're growing. We're growing. We're learning. Does your wife find you funny
Yeah,
as
yeah.
much as you would like?
No, she does. She likes my comedy. I mean, they become less and less. Your wife probably becomes less and less a fan because she's seen it, even though she doesn't come to many shows. But she doesn't like when I have a big one that I'm doing and she hasn't seen me for a while. She wants to go and bring all her friends to see me. Like she likes it. But I'm not. If I was a angrier type comedian, which I'm not, and that took years to evolve out of too. I used to be a way meaner comedian on stage, and sometimes people will think that's still me. Like, and they'll like, "Oh, what about that joke?" And I'm like, "I can't even do it anymore. I don't feel that way." Like I was probably mad at my wife when I wrote that
Hmm.
joke, and now I'm not as mad at her, so I got to find new things. I can't do I stop doing the jokes when it doesn't feel like I mean it.
But anger is such a strong motivator too. Like I've written some very funny jokes that are like birthed out of anger, like, oh, I can't stand when men do this. And it's so that is a viable, creative source for
But
sure.
it's got to be real to you. Like I've had amazing sets. Like that girl I told you was the actress, 10 years younger. I still remember she dumped me. Not only she dumped me. This is a classic story from my life. Like this, if there was an A&E biography, this would be like
Ooh.
reenacted. So like I'm in total love with this girl, right? And we're doing an acting scene
What
together in
was
a
her name?
class. Her name was Sasha. Sasha.
Ooh.
Sasha. Yeah. Very pretty girl. Sasha and I were running lines at the Starbucks around the block from the acting class. She dumps me at the Starbucks, and now we still got to go to acting class and do this scene where we're a couple
So
in
you're
the scene.
practicing the lines, then she dumps you, then you had to go back to class.
Then go back to class and do the scene.
Why not wait till after the scene?
This is one of those, it defines acting and kind of what we're talking about, where comedians, you have to be really connected and mean it, or if you're not angry anymore, it's not going to work. So her and I are doing the scene, and this teacher was like, he was someone you respected because he had been in tons of movies. Like he was like a real actor. I had seen him he was in the movie Heat. He had like big parts and things. I respected him. And he was tough, and he'd pull you outside and go, "What the fuck?" So he stops the scene, he pulls me outside. He goes, "What the hell are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know, I'm doing the scene." He goes, "I'm not buying anything you're saying. I don't believe it." He goes, "It's not coming from a real place." He goes, Tell her how you really feel, but with the words in the scene. Convey it. I go, hey man, I go, that's hard to do because if you're that vulnerable, someone can really hurt you in life. And he goes, this isn't life though.
That is so my thing too. Like I
Yeah.
think that's like my phrase of like that leads into all my shit too. Like the fear of being vulnerable because then they have the power to hurt you.
Yeah.
Continue.
So
That's just something
he goes, this isn't real life, it's acting. He goes, give it that try here in the scene. Just try it. And he opens the door, I go back in. We start to do the scene, her and I. And I don't know if you've ever done any sort of acting. Sometimes real life, like when the acting feels real, it blocks the scene out. And blocking means where you stand, where you walk, what happens, the movement in the scene. So when you're really connected, the blocking somehow just accidentally gets correct. So she's on one side of the room, I'm on the other, and we're doing the scene. And I I feel it. I'm like I go totally vulnerable with the lines, and I'm fucking bawling. I'm bawling in the middle
Wow.
of the acting class. She comes all the way across the room, and she's like this close to me, and we end the scene, and I'm soaked in the face, and the teacher comes over and goes, "So how'd that feel, Joe?" Right? And I go, "That felt pretty good." He goes, "That's acting. That's what it is." And it's like what I used to teach when I used to teach stand up. I go, it's like I risked being my real insecure, raw me in the scene. It's the same thing you have to do as a comedian. And I think that's why I used to get in trouble with the trolls and stuff, because I thought that was my thing to like
Um,
let them know it hurt me, you know, and
Angry
then
and
I got in
raw. Yeah.
trouble. Get angry if it hurt your feelings. Um, Now I'm forgetting the question you asked me, why I even told you that moment.
Um,
Do you remember?
what were we talking? I asked you if your wife thought that you were funny.
You asked
Oh,
me.
God, was I asking what makes you angry? Something you've learned. I mean, that's, we're all in the
No,
theme of it.
I'm trying to think what it was. It was something about
Not, oh, okay. So you were like the way you were in your acting class that worked for you. You were that same way responding to trolls and it bit you in the ass. Like
yeah,
you were angry.
I don't even know if that's what I meant, but that works. But yes, I'm a very like I can remember times when I'd have problems with hecklers and I'd be yelling at them. And I'd look at the rest of the crowd. I go, "Why are you uncomfortable? I've been talking about my problem. Like my whole act was about my problems back then." And I would go, "I've been talking about my problems for 45 minutes. Now you're uncomfortable because you're seeing some real ones happening? Fucking wait it
Ooh.
out. I'll come back." I was like nuts. I used to just share everything with everybody. And some I'm trying to think. Something you asked made me tell you the story of the
Story of the
girl
girl, Sasha.
and in acting class, and
Sasha dumped you. You had to
that's
go.
acting.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have to do that in stand up or using your real feelings? Was it something with your wife?
I have no idea.
Well, maybe it'll come back.
I know. I also. I mean, if you want to connect it to something, I do think you have to be in a good marriage. You have to be willing to actually do that. What I did in that, you have to be able to do that. Like you can't be protect. You can't protect yourself and be like married to somebody. When you're dating someone, maybe you can hide some
For
shit.
sure.
If you want a good marriage, you can't be hiding shit.
You
She's
gotta
got to
just
know you well, like
mm-hmm. That's
and
kind of any strong relationship, like sibling with a parent, like with your dad, things improved so much after you said, like, just fucking tell me you love me, asshole,
right. But the best shows out there, and even the best comedians, they're revealing something that feels like you're eavesdropping. That was another thing Patrice O'Neill used to say, that good stand up should feel like you're eavesdropping, like you're not even supposed to be hearing it. Like when you ask me a question where
Hmm.
I know, like, I guess because I haven't been doing much stand up through this, pandemic, I'm it feels new when you're asking me something where I'm about to reveal something that like I hate it. I hate that I'm like, well, is this guy going to put this in the documentary? Like you
Hmm.
start thinking like that. You can't. You just got to know They probably will, and it's fine.
Right. And
Don't worry about it.
you can't let somebody else like have power over you, because if you are basing your creative decisions, whether it's like telling a story on a podcast or writing a bit or whatever, or like writing another pilot, it's like if you're like hampering yourself, or if you're like squelching stuff because you're afraid of what someone's going to do with it, then that's bad.
You're done. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
done. You're done. But it's like there's certain things I think in life, if you don't go through them, you're never gonna get stronger. And that was one of those things. And it was a long turn for me, and it shouldn't have been that long. That should have been a 10-day curve, and I should have been fine. But it was like years, because it just probably because I just kept getting mad at it. And then even though I didn't like you thought you were, I'm a little less mad, but it's, what do they always tell you when you're starting comedy? And you get so frustrated because you have to do it a long time to get there. They always
Oh, you
go,
have to put it, you have to put in your dues. You have to,
they always
yeah,
say, though, the key is not giving a shit. And that
right.
certain comedians, you can tell when they don't give a shit. And
But
there's a
that doesn't mean
difference.
don't prepare. Like there's a lot
No,
of
no,
ways you could
no.
take that.
No, but when you're not ready for any sort of fame, and you're not there yet, if you give a shit. If you're up there going, man, I got to do an hour special, and I don't think I got 36 minutes. Maybe wait. you know,
Yeah.
you're not ready yet. So, I'm not mad that I went through it, is what I'm trying to say. I think it made me like such a stronger person. I'm able to use what I learned through that whole situation in other situations. I
Yeah.
mean, so there were times where I didn't even want. I was like, should I even go on the Kumia show? Like, I don't even. You're not on the network anymore?
I am. Yeah, I do a show called Wet Spot. It's on Mondays. It's like a sex dating relationship panel show. Like we'll take calls, we'll like
Right. So that whole
talk
fan
about,
base will
yeah.
see this, and some of them always say, when are you going to come on Anthony's show again? They've asked me a few times, and the last couple times I said I would go on, but then I asked if he would come on my thing, and then I never hear back. I'm like, can't we just make this even? You do my show, I do yours. Come
Do
on,
it.
it's
Maybe do
fair.
his first if that's easier, and then see how it
Well,
goes.
I've done it a bunch of times. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess that would be the true test, if you really don't care what any of them are going to say.
Yeah, like you have to just go, because I know that feeling. Like I've been on Kumia's show a bunch of times, and like the first time I was so intimidated, but then I just was like, oh, it's okay. Like just like be a friend, be present, really listen. And then like I was, because I have that similar like quickness too, where like, and I don't know if it's because of my AGT or like in
You have
spite
it
of it,
too.
but that's just the sense of humor. Like in my house, like I was kind of, we were always shitting on each other, just back and forth, like
Oh, so
quick
yeah,
pace. And
you
then I
got
did
it.
5 years of improv, and that was like all my skill set. But like I had to get over being like, oh my God, these guys are legends. They're like big deals. You have to like put that aside and just be present, and then your real funny can come out. So it's like if you do it again, just focus on having fun instead of,
Well, I never got mad on his show. I always had great times on his show. That stuff never happened when I was on. So my fear was never going on Anthony's show. I'm not going to be funny on Anthony's show. It was, you know, to be completely honest, the only part of trolling that is hard is when they're trying to cancel your workout. Like, I don't, this is a perfect time to go because I don't have any gigs. There's nothing.
yes, this is
What are you going to
perfect.
cancel? My fucking domain name? I don't know. What can you cancel?
Yeah, it's
They'll
great. It's
find a way that they'll learn how to do. We canceled Matarese's whole website.
I want to hear about AGT. You were on season 9 of America's Got Talent. You made it all the way to Judgment Week. I interviewed Tom Cotter on an episode a few weeks back, and he said that Simon Cowell does not like comics.
Really?
Yeah.
Simon wasn't on the show the year I was there. I had
Oh,
the
okay.
Howard Stern year. Did something just happen to him? Did he get hurt or something?
Did Simon Cowell get hurt? I don't know. Maybe he's got like a
Is he sick?
something. I don't know.
I heard somebody getting interviewed, and the question was, how's Simon Cowell? How's he doing? Oh yeah, I was on a Zoom show last night for this fundraiser, on
Let's
the West Coast, and
see.
that preacher Larson, is that his name? He was on the show with me, and he had a funny line. He's like, if I knew how Simon Cowell was, you think I'd be here doing the show right now?
So he's bedridden. He was in a bike accident a couple months ago, but as of mid-October, he's recovering. So he had a crazy bike accident. I don't know if it was a bicycle or a motorbike or motorcycle.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah. So he got hurt.
Yeah.
So what was your AGD
Oh,
question
yeah, yeah, yeah.
specifically?
So he wasn't on for year, which was probably a good thing. And when I was on it, I just felt like, yeah, I don't feel like they're all. It's not really a comedy friendly show. To me, it didn't seem that way. It's like to me that it seemed like they want to reward like the woman with the full body burn who can sing, kind of. They're in it for more like the stories. It's like your parents were killed before your very eyes, and here you are to juggle. Like that's to me what people really want to see. And I was like,
Yeah, that helps.
fuck
And
this
also,
show.
I think that show is really geared towards like what kids can watch on television with their mom and dad, and the mom and dad and the kids can have a good time. Cuz like I never got noticed by more kids than the like month that was like when I was on those episodes. Oh my god, everywhere I went there'd be like a 7-year-old going, "Are you the guy?" It was always a kid. Never forget it. I was like
Wow, that would have been
huge
the
with
perfect
kids.
opportunity if you were a pedophile. You would be like, "Yes, I am."
I know.
What's your
Yes, I
name?
am. Did I show you the bathroom? It's really nice. You got to
Have you
see it.
seen my van? Yeah. Well, that's cool. You had kid fans, and maybe those kid fans are now teenagers.
I don't know. The only positive of doing the show America's Got Talent, like I got completely shit on. Like that second episode that I was on is like being trolled. The only thing that was good was the first episode. They did a long piece on me where I get a standing ovation, and my kids come on stage, and like they got to
Ah,
be
gotta
famous at their school the
gotta bring
next
the
day.
kids out. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, like all that shit, like that little piece of 5 minute tape has got me so many gigs, just that little thing. So I guess it was worth it because it was a lot of work being on a reality show. It's just hours upon hours.
A lot of revising. Yeah, just like the audition process alone was like arduous. Like
Just
sending
the
so
contract. It
many,
was like 120 pages, the contract.
but it was worth it. Yeah, that's great. Is like sometimes all you need is like a good clip, and now it's kind of like I mean, yes, they are still doing like AGT, but it seems like you're getting less juice from doing late night spots. Are you finding that your late night credits are not doing as much for you as they once did, or that the industry is changing? Maybe there's less
Oh, yeah.
value in it.
I've been saying that for a while. I always say the difference is when I was on TV the most was pre social media. So now if you get on a late night talk show, the you get more play off of them cutting the clips up and using it on their social media pages. If you got a Comedy Central half hour, they're cutting pieces of it up and putting it on the Comedy Central YouTube page and Instagram page. Like that didn't exist. You did it and it was done. It was gone. It would never air it again.
Hmm.
Maybe you got one rerun out of it and another $700 check came. But yeah, you didn't get the piggyback off of it.
Hmm.
So I haven't really tried to get on any of these shows in a while. I can remember, I don't know if he's still there, but I kind of know the booker on Jimmy Fallon because he used to book Chelsea Lately, if it's
Yeah.
the same
All right.
guy. So he was like, make a tape. As soon as they say make a tape, it's like, that's all you need to do to get a comedian to stop bothering you. Because we hate, do you know how hard it is to go to a club, get your 5 minutes down that you want to do? Because the guy literally tells you, I sent him a tape once. I think it was 5 minutes and 20 seconds, and he wanted it to be five. And he goes, I can't watch. I'm not watching this. Just send me
Oh
I go,
man.
just cut off the last joke. He's like, no, just resend me a tape. I'm like, what the fuck? It's so hard.
Yeah, just stop listening at 5 minutes then. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And then you get lazy because it's not going to do much. I mean, I guess
Hmm.
maybe if you become a regular on there and you start doing it a lot, I don't know. I have different goals. You evolve as a person in your life, and you also evolve as a comedian. Different things become important, and for some reason, getting on those late night talk shows doesn't seem that important anymore.
Yeah. What is important to you now? Like, what would you love to have happen?
Mine's been the same thing this whole time, and it's been the thing that makes me get confused, which is and what you also evolve to, which is you start just making projects that you go, well, that's what I always wanted to be, or that's what I always wanted to do. So let's do a version of that, but not on television, like somewhere else. And you just go fuck it, and you put all your energy into trying to make it happen. And because mine's been like, I wanted to do the acting, I wanted to be funny, but I wanted to be funny on a TV show. That's what I wanted to do.
You would be
And
make a great uncle, I think. You're
yeah,
popular with kids, you know. Got
well, I'm so nuts. See, I always wanted to do like I wanted to be autobiographical and be doing something that was about my life. So I started doing more and being able to get dramatic and then funny again. So I started doing more one man show type stuff in theaters and
You could call it Matarese's Pieces, and it's like very serious one man show.
I don't want, but I did my one man show that I did right before COVID. It sucked because I only did it once, and then COVID hit. I did it in this big theater, and it was awesome. I was really excited to even like work on it more and change it a little bit, and then everything just fell out
At least you
completely.
got to do it once, you know, like because I
Yeah,
remember my last headlining show. It was like in LA on March 8th, and people were already not coming because they were afraid. And
yeah. This was Valentine's Day weekend. It was 700 people. We filmed it. So I started using some of that to do virtual versions of the show because I would show clips from the show instead of just trying. You can't perform it in a Zoom window, but you can show clips. So I was doing a lot of that, and now I'm writing this. I'm writing this other two-person show with this other guy who's not a comedian, but he's funny, and it'll be funny, but it will have a lot of serious mixed in,
you're
and
like,
it's
I'll be the funny one now.
yeah. He's not a stand-up, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Well,
it's
that's
like our
good.
life stories, but I don't want to give it away. But
Don't give it away.
that's kind of what I do now is I just do these little theaters up here in New York, and then I do them down in Philly where I have a fan base too, and I just bounce back and forth.
Good for you. And yeah, you opened for Sebastian Maniscalco a couple years back. Did that help boost? I'm sure that helped your following. And
If I would have, dude, I just called you dude.
you can call me dude. I'm a dude.
I was so in sync with what his audience is that like let's put it I told this is true in one night, just one of the shows, and I only did four, but one of them was in front of 18,000 people.
Wow.
The
Was that the
rest were in
biggest
front of like
show you
it
ever
was
done?
in my hometown. It was like amazing. I'm in my hometown in a stadium in
Wow.
Philly. And I got 2,000 new Twitter followers in one night. Like so in my head I'm going if I could open for this guy for 6 months cuz I have that like I'm Italian but I'm not I don't talk that much about being Italian, but they really liked me, his
You can do
audience.
the voice. You can not like you're gonna sound like Sebastian. No, I
Yeah.
can't do it.
I try to not watch him when I work with him because his voice you could fall into accidentally like using his mannerisms and you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Um, but if I opened for him for 6 months, it would
It's gonna
I
rub
think I
off a
could be
little bit.
famous. Like you don't see that much in comedy. We were talking about this the other night. You see it in bands where like a band is opening for another band and then the opening band becomes famous too.
Yeah.
You don't I'm like comedians do they not like to bring somebody that could like get
Well,
famous that's in
Mark
front of them?
Norman opened for Schumer for a long time, and
But
he's
now that he's bigger, he doesn't.
no, but
That's
she's not really. I mean, she's even physically bigger now.
yeah.
um, so like, I don't think she's performing stand up anymore.
I started thinking, you know what we said? I said this to another comic, and he's a club owner too the other night. I said, the only comedian in the history of comedy that I can think of, and you tell me if you can think of somebody else, who not only brought great comedians to open for him, he was known for having a TV show that really launched their careers. which is Rodney Dangerfield.
Mm.
Rodney Dangerfield had Jim Carrey opening for him. Fucking Jim Carrey. I mean,
What about Mad TV? What about Chappelle Show a little bit?
I'm talking about guys that like would let somebody open for them that the opportunity could make them get famous. Like they were that funny
Yeah.
that they could like not, you know, like I when I Sebastian's normal opening act is a non-Italian Midwestern guy that's
Hmm.
nothing like Sebastian. Like in my head, I even went up to Sebastian backstage. I go, dude, I do stuff about my Italian dad, and I have jokes about my Italian brother, and can I do those? I even had a
That
bit
was
about it.
that was good of you to ask because you didn't want to seem like you were encroaching on
No,
his.
I
Yeah.
wanted the dude. I wanted the gig. I wanted to do as many of those. They paid well. They're awesome. The whole audience is Italian. You're like, this is like a slam dunk if I could do these. So I asked him, and he was just so chill about it. I used to do a bit about it on stage where I would do his voice going, I don't care. He really said that. He was like, I don't care. Whatever you want. I don't like. I could have went up there and brought a drum set out. He didn't give a shit. Like he's very smart to know, like, no matter what you do, I'm still going to go on and just fucking destroy. He would destroy every show.
Wow.
I had never seen a comedian that didn't seem contrived every night, standing ovation, and was delivering, like, was deserving of the standing ovation. I'm like, this guy is bringing it and making me laugh. Like, I'm in the back laughing at the same shit the next night. I'm like, wow, he's really
That's
crushing it.
great. What did you learn from working with him?
That guy's got unbelievable work ethic, and he's got an. You learn really quick when you're around these guys that are at that level how important it is to have a team. That's the problem when you're not at that level. How do you afford the team? I mean, you know a guy's doing well. I say when you're at the show and like his business manager's there, like all these people
Oh
that don't need to
God.
be in the audience are there. The
Yeah.
whole team, because they know they got to come to like I got to come to one show and let them see my face.
Maybe I could see if the girl I know that works at the bank could come to one of my shows so I seem more legit. Like this is Linda. She helped me with a check.
No, I mean you also learn when you see those guys that they're just really because I knew him a long time ago in L.A. and he was doing the same shit, not the same jokes, but the thing was there. It
Yeah.
just it got sharpened a little bit in the last 5 years.
Wow.
But he stuck to his guns and he had one thing and he was just doing it and perfecting it, and it's fun. I like working with guys that motivate you. They make you love being a comedian. You're like, fuck, I got to get to that. What's he doing? I always say I don't steal jokes, but I steal business moves. You're like, oh, how often does he post on Instagram? What time does he post them? Like, I'll steal shit like that.
Yeah, that's not stealing. It's just like, right, you want to, it's great to meet someone that inspires you to like, yeah, how do I be whatever the best version of me is? Like, how do I reach my potential?
Well, yeah, I like being around guys that are very entrepreneurial, and like some of the three guys that I know, and they're all three of them are huge right now, and I've worked with them in different ways. They're inspirational, which is like Bill Burr's one. When I opened for him in that same stadium, and he was another one where I was like, wow, like when he has his own podcasting network, these guys that like want to dig in and like do so many different things, it's inspirational,
It
and
is.
they
It's
do smart
exciting.
things with their money. They're, they don't just blow it on stupid stuff and get all fucked up. Like they're trying to be like this entity.
Yeah.
Joe Coy is another one. When I did his podcast and I would do Chelsea with him, and I was so amazed by his charisma. He just had those guys. They have something about them, And Joe Coy inspired me because I did his podcast, and he's like he opened his own restaurant.
Wow.
He owns his own restaurant in Vegas. I'm
Does it
like
have a
these.
koi pond?
I think it's called. It probably does. I think the podcast is
Get
what
it?
that's what it's called, right?
Oh, is it? Oh.
I think it is, or at least one of his podcasts was
Um,
called that. But he's the kind of guy who's using his social media following to open another business, and I love that, and I'm trying to do that right now a little bit with clothing as I have these designer people that I'm working with, and they're kind of. I'm not wearing it now. They haven't.
Ooh,
They're literally designing a whole new look for me because I realized
wow.
fixing Joe's mental is fixed, but Joe's business sense needs to be fixed up a lot, and that's kind of some of the stuff I talk about that on my new radio show a little bit. I want to have people on that are masters at different social media techniques, or I think if you have a podcast that has a good takeaway, it's important where people can laugh, but they're like, oh, I learned something watching that.
Yeah, I feel like we had a takeaway. We had some takeaways and some laughs.
What do you think our takeaways were?
I think our takeaways were um
The troll stuff.
like, anger, it's going to be in the car. Just don't let it sit at the driver's seat. Like, don't pretend, like, don't be like the self-help bullshit that's like, oh, just don't be angry. Like, don't, it's like, of course you're angry, but just like, don't let it control your life. Um,
You
yeah.
just
And
you
was that
Go
like a
ahead.
therapist thing to say?
No, I just thought of another one. When you get done, remind me Bill Cosby so I don't forget it.
Okay. And the other one is yeah, work with and around people who are crushing it harder than you and like inspire you. Never surround yourself like with people who are doing less than you, because then you kind of don't have a push.
Yeah, I guess you can't force it either. It's like if you're not like them, like I I bring
Bill Cosby.
Anthony Cumia, Artie Lang, and Jim Norton on, but because they had a fan base, but maybe they weren't the right vibe that you needed and for what you were trying to do, and that's always most important. Like, what is your vision, and go do it. Like, don't care about audience and all that. Like, sometimes you want to bring a guest on because they're famous, but it's like it could be a fucking something bad could happen because it's so bad,
That's
so
true. Something bad can always happen.
yeah. So Bill Cosby, like, this was a good takeaway, and it reminded me of something you just said, which is, what was it you just said about the driver
Oh,
behind the
yeah,
wheel?
don't let fear, like, it's in the car, but don't let it, be driving the car.
Yeah, well, that what you just said reminded me of something that I actually met him after a show once. My dad was with me and my cousin. We went to see Cosby at the Apollo years ago, and we have backstage passes because my cousin knew some woman that used to work for Cosby. This is a real long time ago. This is before anything.
Before any of the
Yeah, this is
watch your
when he
drink.
was still loved, and it was believe it or not, I remember it because it was the day Richard Pryor died. I don't know if we could look that
Oh,
up, but it was the day Pryor died,
looking it up.
and there was a little plaque on the Cosby chair where he was going to sit and do his whole act that said Richard Pryor's lifespan, like what year he was born and when and that date.
He died December 10th, 2005.
Okay, so we're talking 15 years ago. So my we start talking to Cosby, and he realizes that, like, my cousin dabbles in stand up. Doesn't just dabble. He's a comedian, and he's also a motivational speaker, right?
Hmm.
So he had some, like, motivational type questions for Cosby, and then I had a comedy question, something I observed him do on stage that night, because he did something cool when he got mad, because there was noise backstage in the middle of one of his jokes. Something like fell, and you heard it in the theater. And he goes, "Hold on a second." And he had one of those, like, lav mics, and he took it off his ear, sat it on the bar stool, and then just walked off stage for like 3 minutes, and then walked back out, put the thing back on his ear, and goes, "Now where was I?" And continued. And I'm like, "Oh, he just yelled at somebody, but we didn't hear it. That's so
Wow.
professional, right?"
Yeah. I wish I
So
could have heard it.
yeah. So I say to him after the show, I go, this is what it was. He goes, "You guys seem like you have a lot of questions for me. Let me deal with these other people. I'll sign some pictures and I'll come back." So he comes back. This was an amazing moment. He goes to a stagehand. "Can you get me 4 chairs and put them on the stage?" He puts 4 chairs on the stage and sits with us and goes, What do you guys want to know?" Like he was our grandfather.
Wow.
So I said that I struggled with anger. And I said, and I struggle with mood. I said, I can do comedy really well when I'm in a good mood, but sometimes I'm not in a good mood. And then it makes it really hard to go out there because I'm a happy kind of guy. and that's how I, do my jokes. And he goes, I think you need to go read my book, Cosmetology. He goes, but don't buy it. He goes, go to a bookstore or the library and pull it off the shelf. I'm wearing a brown tie with a big stupid knot, and he starts sounding like a comedian. He's shitting on himself, and I'm just like, this is great. Like this
Hmm.
is, and he's cursing a lot off stage. And he goes, there's a chapter in the book. You need to go read it. I'm not going to tell you the whole thing, but read that chapter. And
Read the
da-da-da-da.
book.
So I
Not
go to, I
pudding.
literally, I think like the therapist who told me to say that to my dad, I go to the bookstore the next day. I find it, I pull it off the shelf, and I read the whole story in that chapter. And basically, what happened to him that was great advice was he gets hired to do a gig. He's a typical comedian. He's an insecure guy. He thinks he's not good enough to be at this club. It was like supposedly like the best club back then. I think it was called like Mr. Rips. It's in Chicago. And he goes to the gig. He puts his suit on, gets there. He's all dressed in the suit. The guy from the sound booth goes, ladies and gentlemen, a young up and comer tonight. Give it up for Bill Cosby. And he comes on stage and he goes, I'm in my head and I'm bombing. He's just bombing. He goes, nothing's working. I'm just insecure the whole set. I come off. I go into the green room. I start taking my suit off. The owner of the club comes up to him and goes, what do you do? And he goes, I'm sorry. I'm not right. I'm not good enough. I apologize. I'll try to get you the money for the flight that you paid for me to come out here.
Whoa.
Yeah, he goes, I'm just not at the level to be at this club right now, and I'm sorry I really disappointed you. And the club owner goes, well, you're right. You're right. It didn't go very well. He goes, but can you do me a favor? He goes, what? He goes, when you go back to the hotel, can you get Bill Cosby and tell him to come for the late show tonight? Because that's who I hired. He goes, I don't know who
Oh.
that just was, but that wasn't Bill Cosby that I hired. And he was like, oh, like it kind of made sense to him, right? So he comes back, he does the second show, and the guy goes to introduce him again. He goes, ladies and gentlemen, Bill Cosby. And from the back, as he's walking to the stage, he goes, what about Up and Comer? First show you said Up and Comer. And everybody's like looking back and laughing because he's being real. He's being in the moment. He's being Cosby. He's not
Yeah.
thinking. He's just going. He goes, I go up, I destroy, I don't do any of my act. I'm just fucking talking off the top of my head.
Wow.
And then he goes, I come back, and the guy's like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So like, that's where it took me 30 years really as a comedian to realize Joe isn't that angry guy. He's this other guy. And what do you got to do to be that guy? Well, I guess you got to
Hmm.
go to therapy every week. You got to get married and have 2 kids, and you're going to have to take medicine for the rest of your life, because if not, this other fucking lunatic's going to come out, and that's not, and that do the projects you want to do, and everything's fine, and no one can take them away. You just keep doing what you want to do, and if that's all you're, now I'm writing a project where I get to act and be funny, and it's like, that's all I need to
There
be
you
happy.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Wow. And we even had a happy
So many
ending.
takeaways.
So many
So many
takeaways.
takeaways.
Joe, where can people find you, follow you, request a cameo? What, and I think on Twitter you're the Joe Matarese.
I am.
You are the Joe
Yeah.
Matarese.
I am
For
very disconnected with my Twitter audience. I don't even know if we follow. Like, I'm on there, and it's where I have the most followers.
I just
They don't
followed you today.
Nobody interacts with me there. Everything I do is TikTok is like way more interactive, and so is Instagram. That's all the Joe Matarese also. And then I have one of those link trees. I don't know how you give those out to
Yeah,
people.
yeah. I like a link tree. Link tree / the Joe Matarese. And it's
It's got a weird dot. It's got a
LINKTR.ee.
weird dot in there. Just send them
Mm-hmm.
to send them to my Instagram or my Twitter, and that link tree that's there. Oh yeah, you're putting it up to the screen. Do that
I
again.
was, yes. Hold on. It's gone. Yep. There we go.
Can you guys see that?
This is my tech. Yeah.
L-I. Hold it up longer. I
Oh
couldn't
my
even see it.
God. Come on. It's
I'm going to
link.
say it. LINKTR, then the dot, then the EE, then the / the Joe Matarese. And that will take you to everything I'm possibly doing.
I love it. I love it. Joe, thank you so much for coming on. You're a lovely man, a pleasure, and you're getting it together. You're doing great.
Thank you. So are you. You're a very good interviewer.
Oh,
I,
thank
s-
you. Oh my
I see it
God.
in your future. It seems like you actually want to do that. You want to interview people.
I've always liked talking to people, but I just never, until the lockdown shit, I was never like, let me really do this.
And
So
now are you liking it?
I
As
am
like,
liking it. I
yeah,
am
you're good
liking
at
it.
it.
Yeah. And I didn't like, you talked a lot. I didn't know. Sometimes I like, yes, I'm like, is this going to be fun? Is it not going to be fun? Is this, I get in my head thinking like, oh, is the person I'm interviewing, like, is Joe going to like me?
Right.
But and
Yeah,
then
well,
you just have to
you and I have
listen.
a similar easygoing personality.
We're easy. We're
Yeah,
easy.
some
I love it.
comedians are clammed up.
Some
Some
of them
aren't.
are cunts.
Depends.
Yep.
Some of them are cunts.
Some of them
No,
are
some are
cunts.
just quiet and a little bit introverted.
Yeah. You gotta bring them
Yeah.
out. This was great. Thank you, Joe.
All right. See you later.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.